Hi guys, today we're gonna talk about manifestation. Look how pretty it is today. Today's Friday and it's a really pretty day. It's getting a little bit cooler, which is amazing, but there's still a lot of mosquitoes. All right, so what is manifestation? Manifestation is the ability to take an intention and embed it into your subconscious in a manner and such that it has the greatest likelihood to occur or to manifest. So it's something that we're going to put in our subconscious to remind ourselves of it. Every second, we have about 6 to 10 million bits of information coming to us from our sensory organs. This is what creates our reality. On a conscious level, we only deal with about 50 to 100 bits of information. If you want to know more about that, what information and how, read this book called The User Illusion, Cutting Consciousness Down to Size. I read it about 20 years ago, so it's old. So about 99.9%, oh my gosh, I just fell. Look how terrible it is. Thank God I didn't fall. I just almost fell. So basically like 99.9% of all these bits of information is there to maintain your bodily function, like breathing, like metabolism, like temperature, stuff like that. Like stuff that you don't really have control over, right? The 50 to 100 bits you have control over is stuff that you really pay attention to. So that is stuff that is in your subconscious, on your conscious. This is how it works. You have an intention. Let's say your intention is to make $1 million in the next year. You want to write that down. You want to read it silently to yourself. Then you want to read it out loud. Then you visualize it. You do that over and over and over, like 100, 200, 1,000 times. And that will enter into your subconscious, right? Because our mind is like, it's like our mind is like what is that called when Titanic hit an iceberg, right? You only see like what's on top. That's the conscious. The subconscious is the bottom, and the bottom is so much more. It's the 99.9. So you want to use all your sensory networks, all your sight, your sound, your taste, your touch, your smell. All of those are going to be embedded in your subconscious. So this is what happens in your brain. You're activating this part of your brain called the default mode network, the system that is responsible for daydreaming. And it's also responsible for creating the narrative of who you are. So what you're doing, you are creating salience. You making it important. That's what salience means. Once you deem it important, it deserves your attention and it's something to pay attention to. Then it activates your attention network. Once your brain has the importance and the attention, it's going to engage in a control part of your brain for you to take action on whatever pops up. This is how serendipity works. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna write down 10 things that you really want, okay? And then you're gonna say those things out loud. I think there's somebody there. So I'm gonna stop. All right, we're back. That was just a lady with no dog. All right, so you got 10 things. You're gonna write them down. You're gonna say it out loud. You're gonna look at your piece of paper. You're gonna say it in your head. And then you're gonna find a quiet place, preferably in nature, like this. A really nice, quiet place where you're not distracted, where you're not drinking sugary drinks or using mind-altering substances, okay? And simply be present. Then you can begin the breathing exercises I taught you to focus on your breath, okay? It's called mindful exercise. You basically, what you do, you want to count your breaths. 1, just pay attention. If your mind get distracted, you get back to your breath, okay? You need to be sober when you do this. Otherwise, it's not gonna work, okay? You do that every day for a year straight, and you'll see what happens. It's going to transform you into a powerhouse. You'll understand the power that you have. You'll do this for a year, and you'll get so accomplished. Your brain can take the difference between what's real and what is vividly in your brain. Focusing on the feeling of success, you train your brain to expect it. We believe the self-talk that we have, okay? And if this self-talk that you have is negative, then you're working against yourself. I met a lot of hurt people that wanted me to hurt, to feel the same, right? I wasted a lot of time. I used to not see it, but now it's really obvious, okay? We have more power than we think. We know for sure that we can control it. There's no outside force. You just have to believe that, because you don't see it in your life yet. You don't believe it, but once you see it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I see that. You need to get off what other people's opinions have of you, okay? So many people make judgments and they don't realize the situation others are in. Everybody needs to be listened to, okay? Everybody needs to feel safe. I know your life is beautiful, but the question is, do you know that? Do you know that? When you take time to see somebody, look at them, take a genuine interest and appreciate them, that's very meaningful. Everybody needs that. If you're suffering, you're carrying baggage from the past that you haven't healed from. And sometimes you'll sound like your biggest hater, right? Just listening to somebody can change everything. You gotta let other people's opinions go if you want to move towards manifestation. I grew up in a communist country with no food. My mom and dad, my dad ran the border and escaped when I was 3. My brother was 3 months old. My mom had mental health issues and she had to go back to work, and it was hard, right? In that situation, you think there's no hope. You typically end up with mental health issues, become an alcoholic, or some kind of addict, sex addict, whatever, drug addict, whatever. Or on the other hand, you become overly successful. You over excel. We talked about it in the last video about overachieving being a trauma response, right? Then the path of the overachiever splits in 2, okay? One that says, nobody helped me. I did this on my own by myself. I'm not gonna help anybody else because this is a good way to be, because this is how I did it. So I'm not gonna help anybody else. And then there's another group that really understands the struggle and really wants to help others. This is why I'm so driven to do what I do. I'm doing this so you can learn these coping skills to manage your stress. If you live in a war zone every day with constant trauma, you can't rely on anybody because they're not stable. Not knowing what will happen next, it's chaos in your body. Your muscles are always tight. You wake up every day and you didn't get enough sleep. You have headaches. You have all kinds of pains in your life. This is, by the way, a really beautiful path that we haven't really gotten here yet. But basically you can't be present, okay? You need to learn to Be present and attentive. If you can't be calm and focused, it's not possible to learn, okay? This is why I teach you all this, because as you learn about your body and how to calm your nervous system, all that negative thinking that you tell yourself, all that's not true. You will get you will finally get to the point where you have energy and you have focus, and you can attend to the things that need your attention, okay? If you're critical with yourself, you'll be judgmental with everybody in the world. Remember, all judgments are confessions. Let's get back to manifesting for a little bit, okay? I know people that have sacrificed everything to get to the top, and now they have it all, but they're all there by themselves. What was the purpose of that? Our purpose in life is connection. It's not that you work so much so you can have all this stuff, but you have no connection. What are you working for? To walk alone? No. We need others to live, okay? And with that, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, and don't kill any insects today. Look how pretty it is. It's magical. Mwah, 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 mwah.